Crime Stands Still. One season, one story by Marjorie Orbin. The podcast that delves deeply into true crime stories post-conviction, resolving cases, bringing you new evidence, fresh perspective, and revisionist theories, the whole truth and not just what the jury heard. Giving voice to the voiceless is my passion and the inspiration behind this new Just Us project. I'm a criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, and multi-published award-winning true crime author. I'm also a national speaker and expert in criminal pathology. Crime Stands Still retells what happened from why through reenactments, verbatim testimony, transcripts, audio recordings, and first-hand journal compositions, bringing you different voices and points of view, the suspects and others that you won't find on any other podcast. Subscribe, listen, and download for free from your preferred podcast app on Apple or Android devices. Original score, sound design, and mixing by composer and drummer Marjorie Orbin. Season 1, Firefly, Episode 3, Sabotage. The state versus Marjorie Orbin was on track to be a train wreck. Though the judge at first ordered the prosecutor to carry on, in a wheelchair, when he suffered yet another medical setback, the judge at last relented and excused him, and the trial was on hold, while the county attorney's office prepared for his successor. Meanwhile, the jury had plenty of time to think about the case, the many questions lingering in their mind about Larry, and whether he had orchestrated this grisly murder and mutilation. What if they had had more facts? Information that, had they known during Marjorie's trial, might have altered their verdict. Facts that came to light post-conviction, like the tire tracks left in the dirt at the scene of the tub. They matched the wheelbase of a Jeep Cherokee. Not Marjorie's full-size SUV, or Jay's cargo van, or even Larry's Chevy Tahoe. Know who owned 2 Jeep Cherokees? Larry's son-in-law, Brad Fritz, and his daughter, Jody Weisberg.
Did you ever loan Larry your Jeep for any reason?
I may have. I can't remember any particular thing offhand.
Okay, do you know why I'm asking you that?
Not exactly, no.
Okay, because the wheelbase was checked where the body was dropped off. There's a trunk of a body put in a car case.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Well, the only tracks they found by the body had a certain width of the wheelbase. Okay, so we've done all the research on the wheelbase. Everybody's checked that out. And the only thing that could come back to is
a Jeep Cherokee?
Jeep Cherokee like yours.
No, I had no idea.
So that's why I'm asking.
That.
Did you ever loan it to him, do you think? Can you remember ever loaning him your vehicle?
I know there was I couldn't tell you exactly when it was. I know I borrowed his truck, his pickup truck. He had a red one at the time. I had borrowed that, and I know he drove mine. I don't know if that was after the whole thing.
What happened on this, they didn't find the body for quite a while. Would it have been before they found the body, after they found the body, do you remember?
No, I don't know.
Okay. Because that's one of the big issues in this whole thing is those wheelbase prints, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, did they ever test your tires, do you remember?
Not, at least not to my knowledge.
Okay, because I know they did the research on them. They found out that you changed tires at a certain time frame. I think after, they would change tires and put different tires on. Had old tires before the incident. After the incident, you had new tires. But it wasn't like an immediate thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wasn't even aware that they did that.
Okay. So that's why I'm asking these questions.
Okay. No, well, like I said, I wasn't aware that they had checked anything. I never heard about anything about the Jeep, and probably changed tires because mine were probably getting pretty low, and I knew I was going to be moving.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what they saw on the tires, that they were worn, and then the tires were newer. I don't know how they found that out. I don't know if they went and looked at your vehicle or what.
They must have at some point.
Somebody they come up with that.
The investigator said Brad called him later, uneasy about the Jeep questions. He insisted that Jody's Jeep Cherokee had been torched in the desert shortly after the murder. He was fairly certain she had reported it stolen, and burned to her insurance company. He added that his green Jeep Cherokee was in his name and possibly also in Jody's. One night, her Jeep had mysteriously vanished, stolen in the middle of the night from her well-lit, affluent neighborhood. It had been abandoned, missing its 2 rear tires and back seat, eventually towed, salvaged, and resold.
You guys which vehicle were you driving in 2003 or 2004?
Brad and I both had Jeep Cherokees. Mine was red, his was green.
Okay. Did he ever use your red one?
Probably.
Frequently, or?
No, because I was working full time and stuff, so it was, not that I can recall.
Okay, so he usually drove the green Jeep?
Yes.
Okay. Did either of you ever loan that Jeep to your father?
My red one?
Your red one or the green one?
I don't know about if Brad ever let my dad drive the green one when they were working, or I don't know. As far as mine, my dad never drove it.
You never loaned it to him and he never drove it?
No, not that I can recall. He had the, I'm sure you know, he had the Tahoe at the time.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the issues we have here are the Jeeps. Okay.
Okay. The red one is no longer. It was stolen.
Okay, but tell me the story about the red one. I've been chasing the red one all over Phoenix. Okay. And I found it in Eloy, and now it's up in North Phoenix somewhere.
Okay.
So explain to me about this.
Right before Brad left, it was my birthday. He left in April. My birthday was in February. And the night of my birthday, supposedly, it was parked in the driveway, which is never was, but I had to park it in the driveway because all his stuff he was moving was in the garage. And he came in the next morning after we went out. He came in from getting ready to leave, and he said, "Your Jeep is it's gone, stolen." They found it. I made the report, called the police. They found it 10 o'clock that morning down in the south side of Phoenix, totally gutted. And when I took it to the car body shop, he had said that someone tried to set it on fire, but it didn't for whatever reason. Someone came along and they couldn't finish the job or whatever the situation was, but they considered it a total loss because it was totally gutted. So from there, I don't know what, I signed the title over, I don't know what happened.
Did you get to look in the car? Did you see if there was a fire in it anywhere?
It didn't look like there was to me. They had, by the gas tank, when they totally gutted it, they had made a hole, and so he was able, because that's what he does, he said that he was able to determine that that's probably what they were trying to start to do with the fire, but never, for whatever reason, because it was right at the gas tank where they made this huge hole. So.
And where was it? If you're looking at the back, it's in the back, like in the very back of the vehicle, right? And it would be...
Right, because the gas tank is on the left side, driver's side, so it was like pretty much there was the back seat was totally taken out, and then so you had the opening, for your whatever, and it was like right above and over the back wheel area.
Okay.
So
there was a hole there, and then the back seat was missing.
Oh, everything was missing.
Were the front seats missing too?
I want to say yes. The visors were missing. The mirror was missing. The radio was missing. The dash was missing.
The dash was missing?
Fully gutted. Yeah.
And they tore the steering column apart, right?
Yeah.
What about the tires that you had? Now, do you recall the tires that were on it? I know the back two were stolen, but the tires were on it. Were they bad, good, medium?
They were pretty good tires.
They were good tires?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I can give you I'm sure the auto body shop wouldn't have any recollection anymore of the information, but it was body shop right here who did it.
Okay, did you file the report?
Uh-huh.
Okay, you filed that through Farmers or something like that, right? Okay, and did Brad call it in? Did he call anything in? Did he do the reports at all?
You mean talk
Police reports or anything like that?
No, I did everything.
Okay. But he was still around at that time?
Yeah, it was right before he left.
Okay. Did you notice anything weird about the back of that van at all?
Besides the big hole in it?
No, before they took it.
Oh. Not that I would have paid attention to, no.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out what else I would ask you about that, because the van's a big concern. One of those two Jeeps, I think had to be out at the crime scene, because the wheelbase or everything matches up with one of those two Jeeps.
Okay.
And that's what I'm trying to find out, was the red one or the green one. But it's important, this relationship with Brad and your dad and his involvement with that Jeep. Okay.
My dad's involvement with the Jeep?
Yeah.
Him and Brad's involvement with the Jeep?
Yeah.
Basically stating that was Brad in cahoots with my dad.
Yeah, that's kind of like where we're going with it.
I know.
You know.
I know exactly where you're going. Trust me, I've been involved in this for many, and I have my own story, and in my gut, I know the truth.
Something outside, though. Wasn't there a well or a pump house or a little storage thing out there or something?
All I know is if you're looking at his house, to the left there was a garage. Not used for vehicles, he used it for storage. But
okay. You remember what was in it?
A lot of junk, fishing poles, old pictures, old furniture.
Was it like a workshop type of thing?
It didn't look... I mean, it could have been at one time, but at that time it was just storage.
Okay. Full, or was there room to walk around?
There was room to walk around.
Anything that anybody made since then, or any weird statements made by Larry or Jody or nothing like that?
Nothing that I'm aware of.
Did she ever make any comments to you about this incident, Jody?
Jody? No, I mean, the only time it came up is when I got called back. She thanked me for coming back to go in and testify or whatever, and that she was questioned as well, and she couldn't say anything about it.
Okay.
But we never really talked. As far as I know, her and her dad were on shaky ground anyways.
Oh, they were?
You know. I mean, she loved him, but they didn't get along all that well. So her and I really didn't talk much about him.
Did you get along with him really well?
Got along with him, but like I said, it's not like we went out and
didn't drink beer after work and stuff together?
No.
Okay.
Borrowed the pickup truck from his boss.
Okay.
This was after his vehicle got impounded.
Okay, but before his got impounded, any other thing that you can remember?
No, I only knew he had one vehicle.
Okay, what did Jody have?
During that time, I don't remember for sure. She had a Jeep Cherokee for a little while. And a Malibu and a Rendezvous. So which one she had at that time, I honestly can't say.
Okay.
He and Brad were close, after all.
And we're getting all different kinds of stories about your relationship with Larry. Some said it wasn't that close, some said it was really close. And I think you said at trial you were like his adopted son?
That's the way he pictured it, yes. And that's what he would say frequently. But as far as when we tried to go out a couple times to have a close relationship, but it never was that close.
Okay. And I didn't get that impression from the people at TriStar that you or him were that close either.
No.
Okay. But Jody was a different story. She said you guys were probably very close. Would that be true or false?
That would be her impression, but that is false.
Do you have any personal experience with Larry being a hothead?
Yes.
Because I think everybody said he had a very explosive temperament.
Yes. I think I even mentioned some of that to you when you were here. That he could go off, but I've never really seen him. A couple examples. We went to a haunted house, and he got all upset and with somebody else that was in the line, but nothing physical came out of it, more words. And then at the office, he blew up once because a file got misplaced and something didn't get done, and ended up hitting a hole in the door. So if you can think of anything, I can give you a call back, but offhand, no.
Well, Larry is pretty much a loner, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't have...
That's why...
Go ahead. I was just saying, he didn't have very many friends, girlfriends, other than Marjorie. He didn't have other women he was seeing or anything, was he?
Not that I'm aware of. I didn't know him to be with any other.
It would have been important for Brad to have characterized Larry as a loner. Distance was important. But when the investigator hit him with another startling discovery, it was suddenly more than just the matching Jeep treads that were concerning.
Well, we just ran we did some DNA testing again on the big tub and everything, where they found where the biggest part of the carcass or whatever of the body remains. And the results were kind of surprising because they came back to an unidentified man and an unidentified woman. Would you have any thoughts on who that might have been or who might have been involved with that?
No clue.
Okay, because it wasn't Larry and it wasn't the people that we knew about. But they definitely belonged to somebody else. And so she asked me to ask you if you had any idea who that DNA might belong to. Any other man or woman it could have been involved, because it's a man and a woman's DNA.
No, I don't know of anybody else that was either that Larry would have known or. It's interesting.
I know.
But no, I unfortunately I don't.
Remember the untested hairs Detective Barnes claimed he'd found in the blue tub? Evidence he later insisted, misleadingly, was the reason for his demotion. Evidence the detective refused to talk about in Marjorie's case because he'd asserted his Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination. The judge had allowed him to do so because he believed that the detective's departmental troubles, including the raid on his house, had nothing to do with Marjorie's case. When the judge learned he was wrong, and that the detective's troubles had everything to do with Marjorie's case, he was incensed. Barnes' rights did not trump Marjorie's. She was on trial for her life, and Barnes had gone on national television, post-trial, to talk about things he'd refused to discuss in open court. Unbeknownst to the jury, something rather extraordinary was happening behind the scenes. The CBS News show 48 Hours had convinced the Maricopa County Jail to allow Marjorie to record her thoughts in what they would later refer to as Diaries of a Showgirl. And for nearly 6 months, while the trial was happening, Marjorie freely spoke into the camera, hoping that in the event of an unlawful conviction, the nation might learn the truth and help free her.
This is Friday, June 19th, and I have spent 1,656 days incarcerated. That's 4.5 years, charged with first-degree murder. A murder I did not commit. The death of J. Orbin. I did not cause his death, nor did I have anything to do with what was done to his body afterward.
But the Voice Diaries remained property of CBS, never to be released, either to Marjorie's lawyers or to the public, save for a few choice snippets wherein she spoke directly into the camera, reiterating that Larry had murdered Jay, and she kept silent because he threatened to snap Noah's scrawny neck if she didn't.
It felt so good to finally say it, to link Larry's name to the nightmare. I had nothing to lose. I'd been so numbed up, so paralyzed by his threats of retaliation. I never imagined he'd be right, that no one would believe me. I so desperately wanted him to rot in hell for what he'd done, not only to Jay, but to me. It wasn't until he testified, looking like a frail, gaunt old man, dressed in a frumpy, oversized cardigan, so obviously playing the role of a hapless victim, that I finally realized he was getting away with it. He was going to let me take the fall for him. And the endless hours of recordings I'd made in my jail cell and handed off to the guards would be discarded or stored in a vault, never to be heard by anyone.
What if jurors knew that Jay's family had offered CBS a montage of never-before-disclosed home videos from Jay's life? Family gatherings, celebrations with his son Noah, depicting Marjorie's smiling face, her apparent joy at being part of this vibrant, growing family, depicting the size difference between Marjorie and Jay.
Did you ever see Marjorie work out?
Did I see her work out? No.
Okay.
I heard that she did, but I'd never seen her work out.
Did she look real buff or ripped to you at all?
She looked kind of anorexic to me.
Really?
I'm just really thin.
The 48 Hours piece aired post-trial and created quite a controversy. It was clear the show wasn't interested in the wrongful conviction story, a subgenre of true crime that focuses on the failures of a justice system and questions whether the correct person is behind bars, whether Marjorie was disenfranchised by the very system meant to protect her. Truth and justice are not the same thing, and surprisingly may not even be entertaining. Television shows are not bound by any rules of evidence and are more focused on ratings. They can leave out important facts that don't align with their narrative. Remember Making a Murderer? The hit Netflix series that captivated 19 million viewers, me included. We all eagerly watched as Stephen Avery, a man falsely imprisoned for 20 years on a rape charge, was again derailed by the criminal justice system, a corrupt police force, and DA's office. But there were flaws in the story. Filmmakers left out Avery's checkered past and compelling evidence against him, like the confession by a man who helped Avery commit the crime. Jurors who watched the show undoubtedly heard about the untested DNA from the now disgraced lead homicide detective in Marjorie's case. He'd portrayed himself as a hero of sorts, a whistleblower, fired because he threatened to expose the crime lab's deficiencies in Marjorie's case. The show left out the fact that Barnes was alleged to have engaged in inappropriate relations with the wife of the baseline rapist, and was ultimately indicted on perjury charges related to his dealings with the owner of the Potato Head website. The Arizona Attorney General's office, however, ultimately dismissed the charges, citing judicial economy. Jurors didn't know what happened to Barnes.
There was a lead detective in the case, a Detective Barnes, and he had to take the Fifth Amendment on his own behalf. What did that
was weird.
Yeah, what did that make you think about?
Well, we don't know anything at the time the trial was going on. So we're like, what the heck happened? I mean, when I was, but I don't know. I thought that was very bizarre, but we didn't have any clue why he was, totally disappeared. They didn't tell us anything about taking a fifth or anything at the time that I remember.
Oh, really?
I don't remember them saying anything about him to us at all. Maybe other juries do. I just remember him there all the time with this female detective, and then poof, never came back.
Whatever you may think of Barnes, he was vigilant and right on at least 2 points. Testing DNA and further investigating Marjorie's story, the one she divulged to her first team of lawyers, that Larry Weisberg killed Jay and threatened to harm her son if she ever told anyone.
It was in my report. Her defense attorneys told me that Jay came home unexpectedly, interrupted Larry and Marjorie having sex, a fight ensued, and ultimately Jay was murdered in the garage. Larry then threatened Marjorie that if she ever told anyone what happened, he would hurt Noah. Her attorneys implied that he'd forced Marjorie to assist him with the disposal of Jay's missing parts, suggesting they'd been dumped in a landfill. I told the lawyers I needed proof, not just hearsay. Would Marjorie make a statement? Submit to an interview?
Absolutely not. Her lawyers assured Detective Barnes Marjorie wouldn't cooperate. She was terrified Larry would carry out his threat and harm Noah. He was just going to have to take them at their word.
Marjorie said she knew who killed her husband, but said she'd rather stay locked up forever than risk jeopardizing her son's life. She talked about her son a lot. She loved her baby. She talked about her ex-husband too, said he was a really good father, a good provider, a good family man. She never portrayed him to be a bad guy. The rumors were that she had chopped him up and hid his body in different places, like under her kitchen sink. Crazy stuff.
Did you ever talk to anyone who said they heard it from Marjorie?
No, never.
Do you think it was possible? Was she a strong person?
Emotionally strong. Everyone hated her. She was the pod's most hated. But I kind of admired her personality, you know? I was like, I see somebody that everybody hates, and, I'm like, well, she doesn't seem that bad to me. You know what I mean? Other girls were mean to her, attacked her, threw fruit at her, hit her in the head and back, like a drive-by fruiting. Like from the movie Mrs. Doubtfire when she was throwing the fruit. Oh, that's what they were doing to her. And Marjorie would take it all in stride. I would get mad for her. Especially when girls started saying they were going to testify against her, make stuff up so they could cut down their time.
Why do you think they were so mean?
Maybe they thought she acted better than them. She was very, very pretty, petite. I mean, she was a dancer, ballet, tap, choreographer, so her looks meant everything to her. She'd put on makeup every day, no matter what, and do her hair. We locked up, who cares? But it seemed important to her. She exercised all the time, jogged or walked fast around her cell, did sit-ups, ballet moves, always making sure that she looked nice.
Sure, I wanted to look nice. I didn't plan on being in a jail cell for the rest of my life. I had to keep my head straight, focus, show no emotion. It was survival. It was horrible in that place. The food was inedible. The girls were crazy, always trying to beat me up or jump me or testify against me. And then there were the mice that slid through the cracks and into my bed. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and they'd be crawling all over me.
Post-conviction, new DNA was tested. It came from the lid of the Rubbermaid container and produced a mixed DNA profile that eliminated Marjorie, but suggested that a major contributor was female. Additional swabs taken from the lid end tub with tape were also foreign to Marjorie. 4 swabs from the underside of the lid, the side with biological matter, again did not match Marjorie. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? In a circumstantial case of murder where no physical evidence linked Marjorie to Jay's death, DNA results that implicated other perpetrators, another female no less, would have been critical to Marjorie's defense.
Strategically, my lawyers thought it was better not to poke the bear. If they tested the DNA and the results implicated me, I was done. But I knew DNA testing would exonerate me and prove Larry's guilt.
Remember Jay's white cargo van, the one that was released to his brother, Jake Orbin, from the police department's impound lot in 2008, just 1 year before trial began? For 3 years, it had been subjected to Arizona heat and sun with no maintenance. Still, Jake Orbin managed to drive the van safely from the impound lot to Jayhawk International Warehouse, where he parked it until he could get it serviced. Before that happened, though, he testified that he returned within the week, climbed into the van, and put it in reverse. That's when he heard what he described as a whining sound, and noticed the front tire had somehow dislodged from the carriage. According to police, the adjusting sleeve of the tie rod had been cut and looked like it was going to separate into two pieces. If that happened, the inspecting detective said, the van would not be able to steer properly. Just like that, the police ruled out natural causes.
The right tie rod was bent up and almost ready to break. It looked like it had been cut with a pinching tool, something like a tubing cutter.
The jury heard hours of testimony regarding the damage to the white cargo van. The state's expert examined the tie rod and concluded 1/3 of it had been cut with a pipe cutter and then later fractured. The cut, the expert said, looked like a fresh break, very, very clean with no rough edges. The ends looked crimped in and rusted. The defense called no rebuttal expert and instead cross-examined the state's expert. When jurors were later questioned, they said they found the evidence compelling. It went to premeditation, and pretty soon witnesses were recklessly accusing Marjorie of all kinds of sabotage. Not just cutting a tie rod to a van police had had in custody for nearly 3 years, only to release it to Jake, who drove it successfully to his brother's warehouse. Coincidentally, only while in Jake's custody did the van suddenly have serious defects in the steerage linkage. The state's experts said,
a cut like that would have made the vehicle completely uncontrollable, spinning or rolling it around. Both sides of the adjusting sleeve were beveled, making it more likely than not that the tie rod was deliberately cut through with a compression instrument like a pipe cutter. And because the rate of incision was rusted over, it's likely the sabotage was done years earlier.
The implication that I had somehow damaged Jay's van was surreal. I remember sitting in the courtroom, a stun belt biting into my waist, hidden by a blouse that was too big and definitely not my style, watching the jurors' deadpan expressions, feeling utterly sick. It was too much, especially on the heels of all the other outrageous things witnesses said I'd supposedly done to Jay. Everything from cursing him with voodoo dolls to trying to poison him with arsenic.
On post-conviction, I sought out an expert, a mechanic and service consultant who had considerable experience analyzing tie rods. He agreed to review the photographs introduced at trial. This is what he had to say.
In my opinion, tie rod damage is actually quite common, and in fact a phenomenon I've observed many times. It's particularly prevalent in vehicles on the East Coast that are subjected to bad weather. Vehicles can slide on ice and snow, bounce into curbs, and cause a tie rod to bend. Over time, the tie rod will eventually crack or break. You can see from the photographs here that the threaded end that runs through the shaft broke right where the thread stopped. That means that the tie rod bent because the vehicle hit or bumped something. It was not a clean cut. Given the jagged nature of the break point and the fact that the tie rod was bent, it was impossible for the tie rod to have been cut by a pipe cutter or other sharp instrument. A cut would have produced a round break. The break in these photographs was square break, that bends exactly at the threaded portion, the weakest part of the tie rod. The damage looks old and due to rust. In Arizona, we don't have this kind of rust. Therefore, it's likely that the vehicle travelled frequently in snow or ice. The vehicle did not appear to be neglected, but looked as if it had been serviced regularly because the bushings in the photographs revealed fresh grease. The damage to the tie rod would have been easily overlooked at a regular service appointment.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to Crime Stands Still. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode of Firefly. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your Android or Apple devices and check out my website, carriedrobin.com, where you can find and purchase all of my true crime books and follow the latest developments in my true crime cases. Until then, stay vigilant, stay true, and stay tuned.